Hey everyone, Wiggles here. In this video, I'm going to go over the ins and outs of the Paladin class in Tarisland. My goal for making this video is not only to teach you more about the class, but I'll explain why the Paladin should be your next main in the game. Alright, let's just get right into it. So it's great to see that the Paladin class starts off being released for male and female, and hopefully all the other classes start doing this as well. But just like in every game with a Paladin class in it, they always seem to pack a big punch while having great utility. And in this game, it's no different. Whether you're smacking down mobs as the Justice Paladin or saving your allies as the Guard Paladin, you're going to be feeling very strong on the class. And sure, it may be a bit more difficult for you to pull consistent high damage as easily as some other classes could, but you make up for it in many different areas. So I briefly mentioned it, but the Paladin class has two specializations: Justice, which is their damage spec, and Guard, which is their tanking spec. I love both specs for many different reasons. Justice hits insanely hard, while Guard has some really useful defensive capabilities, and it's really satisfying to pull it off. But let's start with the Justice Paladin. And as for the skills, they have Glory Strike, which is a regular like hammer swing. Then you got Justice Thump, which is more of a ranged attack. You can attack them pretty much from this distance. Then there's Judgment Strike. This is pretty much like Glory Strike, but hits way harder. There's a lot of different enhancement effects that this thing gives as well through the talent system. And then this is your main hard hitting damage dealer because it hits everybody in that reach. All these skills hit really hard, and arguably they are your main damage dealer in many other ways. But as for a big AoE attack, this is your way to do it. Planning this cooldown on top of the other enhancement effects is definitely the way to maximize your DPS on this class. And then you got your 5. Discipline Storm. This is just like every other melee DPS's 5. It's just the AoE. It costs 1 power of glory, and if you hit 3 targets, then you'll get that power of glory back, so you can just keep using it. And then you got that Trial of Rage, which enhances your crit and your haste by 12%, and your attack will be boosted by a certain amount. So for their spectrum info, so the way that this little bar thing works at the bottom is using your main attack, your Glory Strike, fills up this blue bar at the bottom, and when that blue bar is full, you'll get a random enhancement on either side. It could either be on the left side, which enhances your number 2, Justice Thump, or it could be on your right side, enhancing your number 3, which is either Judgment Strike, or you could choose to go into Judgment Sword instead. So essentially you want to maximize getting these enhancement effects by using your 1 to get this bar all the way full to enhance either your 2, your 3, in this case it's 3, to deal even more damage than you normally would have. These are called Powers of Glory, and you need 5 of them to get to that enhancement. And there's several ways in your talent tree to get more Powers of Glory. So there's things like Echo. Anytime you can consume in a judgment enhancement status, there's a 100% chance that you'll grant another 1 tier of the Power of Glory. So it just gets you up started for your next enhancement. And then Eternal Glory, after using your 4, you get 1 random glory judgment enhancement as well. And then things like landing a critical hit also grant you additional powers of glory. And the paladins really revolve around that crit, so you can get a ton of crit. So overall, there's a lot of different ways that you can maximize obtaining those powers of glory to get those extra judgment enhancement effects, so you can just deal insane damage. For raids and group content, you have this really awesome talent called Field Rage. And this shares your Trial of Rage, which is your 6, which gives you more crit, haste, and attack for 15 seconds, but then it shares it with everyone around you for 50% of the effect. This is really great whenever you're in a party of like 3 or more people. That way everybody in your party can deal more damage and get it done quicker. There's talents for all the different skills in here. There's ones focusing on your Glory Strike, your number 1. There's others focusing on Justice Thump, while some even enhancing Trial of Rage even further. But ultimately, what I've found to be the most effective is obviously getting Power of Justice. This talent's really great. And on top of that, in this build, I'm focusing on the damage for my 2 and my 3, Justice Thump and Judgment Strike, as well as anytime I can get the extra enhancement effect, take it. Although I am trading off a little bit of extra damage here, that Double Knight, I probably should max it out. And I technically maybe don't need Field Rage all the time if I'm doing some solo content. And putting it into something like Knight's Glory could be good for extra glory judgment enhancement effect. The only reason why it's not there, and I've seen many other paladins not take this talent, is because when you max it out with 3 talents, you only get 10% chance. And I don't know, I think every time you get 1 glory judgment, that means 5 power glory stack. I just feel like 10% is a little low there, so put a full 3 talents in that. Other than that, I really like maxing out the damage of Shattering Slam, since that does insane damage, and since I really like PvP, it can really overwhelm healers that way. And yeah, this current build has Glory Strike Plus, which honestly, this could be swapped out for many different things here. This is more of my PvP build for chasing any kind of range character. So other than maximizing that judgment enhancement effect, one other really important mechanic to keep in mind is that most talents, whether you're choosing Judgment Strike or Judgment Sword, have some kind of enhancement effect that makes the next skill do more damage. So something to keep in mind for a rotation would be to use your big 4 attack right after your 3, especially if you're using something like Judgment Strike, because there's a couple talents that make it better, like Frenzy Strike. If you hit a crit with Judgment Strike, you also deal 10% more damage for 6 seconds. And then Enraged, one of the first talents you can get, Judgment Strike makes your next skill deal 15% more damage and crit damage. So that inherently will just make your 4 do so much more damage. And then stack that on top of having 6 and any kind of potions, and you're just hitting insanely hard. So if I was running to the target, I would probably use a 2 on the way, use a 3, enhance it, and then go 4, go 2 again, 1, just to start putting this bar up, press 6, go 7, 2, 3. Make sure you're always using that enhancement whenever you see it. And anytime you don't have 2, 3, or 4 up, just start using your 1. Because getting this enhancement back up for your 2 or your 3 when it's off cooldown will be really important. You can also stack this Judgment Strike damage buff with other things, like the ultimate talents in PvP. For example, Atonement, you can do more damage to the player after using it, after that character is stunned. So there's a lot of different things you can experiment with. One thing I really like about the Justice Paladin is the different ultimates that you have. So you get Breakout, it just makes you have more movement speed, but from what I've seen, all the classes have this one. Earth Shattering is really fun to use. It instantly makes you jump on somebody, it goes like this. But anybody you hit there will get 50% deceleration on them, which just helps catch anybody trying to run away. Next, you got Divine Might. This is a really cool talent, and I know mages have it too. You reduce the damage you take by 80% and the damage you deal by 50%. So you are dealing less damage, but you're taking significantly less damage. That's really good for duels or any time that you think you're gonna get focused. Then there's Atonement. This forces a stun on a target. This is a single target stun. It's long range, really effective. One thing to note is if they take any kind of damage, then the stun will go away. You got Break Free, so this is really general, just break out of a route. All classes have this kind of one. Then there's Punishment. Punishment's a really handy one to have. It's a classic interrupt. You can interrupt anybody's skills. And in PvP, it puts a paralysis on the enemy, which is really handy. But by far, my favorite ultimate is Scourge. This is an AoE stun. It looks like that. It hits everybody in that circle. And if somebody was standing in that circle, they'd be knocked out. It says here for 6 seconds, but players get knocked out for a bit less. And then there's Brilliance. This is an aura just around you. It's like a tiny little circle about the same size as Scourge, and it just puts a deceleration effect on people. But the ultimates that I like the most generally would be things like Breakout, Earth Shattering, Divine Might, Atonement, Punishment, and Scourge. Atonement's really interesting because after that stun effect's over, in PvP, you do more damage to that target. And I have heard top Pallies currently using Breakout instead of Earth Shattering just because it has a lower cooldown and it takes you out of many different CC effects. And anything that removes a CC effect for a Paladin is super handy. Try the Justice Paladin out and you'll definitely notice that you hit really hard. You'll notice that you can even two-shot people in PvP. Now moving on to the Guard Pally. So Guard Paladins has Holy Hammer. This is a regular hammer swing. It's important to note that it increases your glancing chance by 4% for the next 13 seconds as well. Your number 2 can either be Holy Sword or Holy Shield Bash. From what I've seen, most people go Holy Sword, but maybe the meta will change in the future and most Pallies will go for Holy Shield Bash. But the main difference here, without looking into the talents too much, is that Holy Sword gives you back HP after using it, whereas Holy Shield Bash gives you a damage reduction. So both are definitely viable. I personally like running Holy Sword. Certain talents like Sword Shield make the cooldowns on some other skills a bit quicker. And Holy Sword also puts on a really good debuff on the enemy, making them 9% less likely to land a hit for the next 10 seconds. But there's many different ways to build out every character in this game, so don't take this build as the only way to do it. Next ability is Flying Shield. So this is a ranged ability as well. Just like the ability says, you throw your shield out and it comes back to you, kind of like Captain America. It deals good damage, but the best part is you get a good barrier when the shield comes back to you. So you get a good shield that absorbs damage equal to 12% of your max HP, plus a certain amount as well. The next is Holy Fire. This just goes around you like a little blue circle. This makes sure that you're hitting every enemy around you. Every tank class has a skill like this. This doesn't do much damage, but if you're attacking many characters at the same time, this will start doing a lot of damage. Then next is Holy Regen. This is probably why I like the Guard Paladin so much, is you have this really effective heal. It heals like 19% of your max HP, plus a certain amount. You can even make it heal more through the talent system. So here's 20% more, and it even lowers the cooldown. And then some other cool talents, like after you cast it, then other skills will heal you as well. Then lastly, you have Ardent Guardian. This is a really great 12-second buff, reduces all damage by 20%, and it increases your physical defense by 910. It's a really good buff to have. Anytime there's a really important part of the fight happening, just pop that and your character will be good. What I love about the Guard Paladin is not only that they feel strong with these barriers and the extra glancing chance, but all the extra heals that this class does makes it so you can even out heal your healer sometimes. The amount of heals I can get with a Holy Sword mixed with Holy Regen, then maybe a Flying Shield, and then another Holy Sword is crazy. So for the Guardian ultimates, it's not much different than the Justice ultimates, although you have Challenge Guardian and Guardian Order. So these are just your two taunts. Challenge Guardian taunts all the enemies in like a circle around you, whereas Guardian Order taunts one enemy and it can taunt them from a cast range of 16 meters. And then as for Inscribed Stone, it's really similar to every other tank. So you want to focus things like stamina and then the specialization effect. In this case, it's glancing effect. And then for the Justice Paladin, same thing. You want to focus similar to any kind of crit DPS class. So you want to get things like obviously crit, you want to get Omni, you want to get specialization effect as well, because that enhances crit damage. And personally, I really like getting these Inscribed Stone nodes as well. I know it's controversial. A lot of people prefer putting these 3 extra points into something more important like specialization effect, but I definitely noticed once I spec'd into here that my Inscribed Stone energy has gone up way faster. And maybe you're even playing a completely different class right now watching this video. Just go to your character tab, go attribute, and then here you'll see crit is better than Omni. Omni is just as good as cooldown, but that's better than strength. Strength is better than focus, and all that is better than stam. So you can use that as a general rule of thumb of what you're going into. So overall crit, Omni, and cooldown. And then for the Guard Paladin, glancing is the best, which is better than Omni. And Omni is equal to cooldown, which is better than stamina, which is better than focus, which is better than strength. Paladin class wasn't the first class I picked up in this game, but once I picked them up, I love this class for so many reasons, and I hope after watching this video that you found a good reason to play this class as well. Whether it's those insane tanking capabilities, or being able to hit crits that take out massive chunks of your enemy's HP, I'm sure that the Paladin class will not disappoint you. I highly suggest you give them a try, and who knows, maybe they'll end up turning out to be your main. Alright, that's it from me. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like so YouTube will recommend it to more people like yourself. Also, please subscribe to my channel for more great Tarisland videos just like this. Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers.